Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Word Brothers podcast. We're coming at you in April the 3rd, 2022. Episode 10. Huge milestone. Can't believe we've made it this far. Taylor, what's going on, brother?
What's happening? Another day, another dollar.
Haven't made a penny from this yet.
Yep.
But the millions of you out there, I know, support us and love us, and we're getting there. Slowly but surely, we're getting there.
Surely but slowly.
We're getting there.
We are. Well, how was your weekend?
Weekend's been pretty good. Had a migraine actually Friday into Saturday. That was not good.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah. So spent most of the day yesterday feeling like my head was just kind of shaking around in a blender for a while, but recovered and feeling much better today. But played some more Elden Ring this weekend.
No, you don't say.
I do say.
Okay.
I do. I say I do.
That was a great Yosemite Sam right there.
Yeah, well, it's like a mix of like Foghorn Leghorn and like Yosemite Sam.
I say boy.
Exactly.
Very nice.
How about yourself? How's your weekend going?
I had to work yesterday, so that was like having a migraine.
I was gonna say, like having a migraine. There you go.
So that was wonderful. Spending some time with my boy this weekend, which is good. He he's got T-ball coming up, so we went and got him some batting gloves and played quite a bit of baseball yesterday afternoon and today. And
are you coaching? Are you gonna coaching this year?
I probably can't just my work schedule, unfortunately, but I'll definitely be making out to his games for sure. I can't wait. I'm so excited for T-ball this year.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
He did soccer for a couple of seasons, wasn't really here to sing, but baseball he's definitely big into, just like his dad. So I'm pumped for that.
Yep. It doesn't surprise me one bit, given the fact that you worked in baseball. So
I did for a little bit. So
for a time. And I will say, I'm not saying this just because he's my nephew and I love him, but that kid, for to be 6 years old, he's got a friggin' cannon for an arm, dude. Like you have taught him well.
He's hitting the ball really well, and we were tossing the ball around today, and he kept trying to like back up further and further, and I'm like, no, you're too far away. And then sure enough, ball hit me right in the glove. I was like, holy smokes.
Yeah, that's the other thing is he is accurate. I mean, he winds up like he's about to throw some wild pitch, like way like, and then it comes directly at you. I'm like, whoa, son!
Like 95% of the time.
Yeah. So
that was
proud of that kid. I can't wait to see his games myself.
And on the gaming side, still going deep into Super Mario 3D World. I beat the official playthrough. But you know me, I'm a completionist, and I'm going back through having to beat every level with every character so I can get all those stupid stamps. But
that doesn't sound that fun, to be honest with you. The game itself sounds fun, but having to go back through each level with each character just kind of seems like it'd be a slog.
Yeah, a little bit. I'm on Bowser's like kingdom. I just got there before our podcast, so I got a couple levels of his, and then onto Star Road, and then hopefully I'll be done with it. I did jump in a little bit to Bowser's Fury, which the like 5-10 minutes I played that was pretty cool. So I'm excited to get back into that once I finish up everything on 3D World.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you know what you're gonna play after?
Well, I went on a bit of an RPG binge the other day. Square had a 50% off sale, so I got for like $3 a piece Dragon Quest 1 and 2. I was gonna get 3. But a certain someone told me there's a remake coming out soon, so I'm going to hold off and get that.
Oh, wow. Whoever told you that is brilliant. Really smart. Glad really good thing they told you that.
And then I also got for 50% off Final Fantasy 8 and 9 because I haven't played through either one of those. Those were like $10 a piece. So I got all those. But I think actually I've played through Mega Man X1 back when we had the Super NES, but I bought the Legacy 1 through 4 and 5 through 8 a few months ago. So I might jump into Mega Man X2, maybe 3 and 4, because it's been a while since I played a Mega Man game. So that may be next on the docket once Mario's done.
That's a really good idea. As you know, I love the Mega Man X series. That's actually a collection that I have looked at into purchasing because that would be really fun to go through. Have you ever played any of the Mega Man Battle Network games for the Game Boy Advances?
I have not. I've heard good things about them. I will say the Mega Man X collections, I got both of those. I think at like 30 or 50% off too. So I just keep those suckers in my favorites, and whenever I see a sale come on, jump all over it.
Yeah, I would love to see. I would love to see them port like the the Mega Man Battle Network franchise over to the Switch. That'd be a lot of fun. I played through on emulators 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
So okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay.
Sorry, I got distracted for a minute.
Okay.
Okay. That's.
Oh,
Are they good?
they are great. Yeah, I love them. Okay.
Okay.
Moving on to the news.
To the news.
No, is there anything else that?
Nope.
Moving on to the news. So we talked last week about PlayStation's code name Spartacus. Well, as we said, it was going to be revealed potentially last week. Guess what?
It was.
It was.
But guess what?
What?
They got rid of the coolest name in the world, of Spartacus. You
Yeah.
can make. I would buy almost anything if you just called it Spartacus.
Spartacus.
I'm like, oh, that sounds amazing. I should probably buy that. Don't know what it is. Don't know what it does, but it's called Spartacus.
Hot sauce.
PlayStation
Spartacus.
making a misstep here. Should have kept it as like they could have had tiers like Spartacus Spear, Spartacus Shield, and Spartacus Sword. Boom.
Oh,
boom,
that's
boom.
pretty. That's sweet. Yeah. I like that.
PlayStation called me. I'll sell you back the rights to those names. Next
quick,
week's
yeah.
news. Yeah, next week's news. We're like, in a sudden change of events, PlayStation has changed the names of their tiers.
There's still time.
Yep.
So yeah, so not
Ken,
called Spartacus. Yeah.
Yes, Ken, why don't you fill us in on what's going on with these tiers from PlayStation Plus?
So yeah, so here's the rundown. I'm gonna break it down for you. So you have what is essentially, it's just saying called PlayStation Plus essentially, and so they're just gonna be tiers now. So what everyone is accustomed to for PlayStation Plus now is you're gonna have the PlayStation Plus Essential plan, and that's gonna cost $9.99 a month, $24.99 quarterly, or $59.99 a year, which is what we have now. And so what this provides is, and again, same thing as of right now, you get your 2 monthly downloadable games, which is pretty cool. And when they say, Taylor, I know you don't have a PlayStation, so when it says 2 monthly downloadable games, yeah. A lot of times, they actually have pretty big games. I mean, they've had Final Fantasy on there. They had God of War. So they've had some big blockbuster AAA titles. Yeah.
So
question?
when it says 2, like, do they have a bunch you can pick from and you pick 2, or do they just make 2 available and you?
They just
give
make
them?
2 available.
Okay. And then, like, once you download them, are they yours forever,
They're
or do
yours.
they go away?
Nope,
No,
they're yours.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Proceed.
So you get the 2 monthly downloadable games, exclusive discounts, cloud storage for saved games, and online multiplayer access. And it says here from the PlayStation website that there are no charges for existing PlayStation Plus members in this tier. So if you already pay, you pay your normal, whatever, $9.99 a month, or the quarterly price, or the $69 or the $60 a year, you're not going to get any additional charges when these new online features, these new tier features go into place.
Okay, cool.
So moving upwards from there, you have the PlayStation Plus Extra, which breaks down to $14.99 a month, $39.99 quarterly, or $99.99 a year. So this provides all the benefits from the Essential tier, plus a catalog of up to 400 of what they claim of the most enjoyable PlayStation 4 and 5 games, including blockbuster hits from their PlayStation Studio catalog and third-party partners. Games in the Extra tier are downloadable for play. All right. So again, this is to match Xbox Game Pass. This is PlayStation's version of that. So
Cool.
moving up from the extra tier, we have our final tier. This is the PlayStation Plus Premium. This is $17.99 a month, $49.99 quarterly, or the big boy, $120, $119.99 a year. Now, again, this provides all the benefits from the essential and extra tiers, plus an additional 300 and up to an additional 340 games. But you also get games from PlayStation 3 games available via cloud streaming. You also have a full catalog from both streaming and download options from the original PlayStation, the PS2, and surprisingly, to my surprise, the PSP generations.
That's cool.
So PlayStation says here offers cloud streaming access for original PlayStation, PlayStation 2, PSP, and PS4 games offered in the extra and premium tiers in markets where PlayStation Now is currently available. Customers can stream games using PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 consoles and PC. And then the last thing they have here is time limited game trials will also be offered in this tier, so customers can try selected games before they buy. So I'm wondering if that will be their way around, like, say, like the new God of War game that is coming out later this year. If you won't get, they won't release that game as they've announced. They won't release their new, titles right away on this pass, but maybe they'll give you like, okay, you have 48 hours to play it or something, and then if you like it, then, then buy it. But that is that is the breakdown of the new system, of the new subscription service.
That's, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that in terms of like the pricing and what you get out of it? I guess with compared to like what Xbox has now. Does Xbox just have one tier? They have two tiers, right? On theirs.
I'm trying to remember from last week where we looked at. I know they have. I think it is just one tier,
Level.
but you can pay for it for just the PC, or you can pay for it where it's for the console and the PC.
Gotcha.
But I believe that's all it is. I mean, and that's $15 or $14.99 a month. And I mean, listen, I have a PS5. I love Sony. I've been on the Sony train from last console, from PS4 to the PS5. But I still think, honestly, Microsoft still takes the cake. I really do. I don't know. It's tough. Like, I don't know if I can justify shelling out $120.
Man, it's like that's $10 $120 a year. It's $10 a month for essentially what you're Well, I mean, I guess it's essentially what you're getting from Xbox for $15 a month.
Yeah,
But does
yeah.
Xbox, do you get it for? Is it cost less if you do a yearly? Do they have an option for a yearly?
I'd have to
Brings it
double
down?
check.
Okay.
They probably do. You guys can leave us feedbacks in the comments below when we get on YouTube. You guys can do that. Or send us an email at
Yeah.
thewarebrothers@gmail.com. But yeah, I think it's great that they offer the PSP games. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, so what they say, they up to 400, and then if you do the premium, you get up to another 340. So 740 games. I mean, I mean, is it worth it? It probably is, but you know, I don't know how much of that I'd be able to utilize. Now, how many
Yeah.
of old school games from generations past am I actually going to sit down and play through and get, my money's worth out of
Good
it?
point.
I'd have to go through the catalog and see, because I'm sure there's a whole plethora of games that they'll have that maybe I've wanted to play or never got to finish, and games that would be good to have. But me personally, I don't know. I don't know if I'll pay for this. I mean, I certainly love that it's there, that it's an option. But yeah,
And
that's
do you
kind of
have the
my
base
thoughts.
plan right now?
I do. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I play, I pay $60 a year just, so I can utilize, the online features of games that I have.
Mhm.
But
And I
yeah,
guess you
so
compare it to Nintendo. So the top tier that I have right now for the Switch is $50 a year, I believe, and obviously that gives you not nearly as many titles, but it's a pretty good layout of regular Nintendo, Super NES. N64, and then also the Sega games as well. And I would love to see some more stuff like Game Boy games coming to that collection as well, which they've been rumoring for a while. So that would be pretty awesome if that came. You know, I would continue to pony up for that.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that maybe it's well, this is probably wishful thinking, but I'm hoping that it's only a matter of time before Nintendo can implement, a better system like
Yeah,
this where
and
they
a bigger
can.
catalog.
Absolutely. I mean, and the funny thing is because I think that when it comes to Nintendo games, like from like the Game Boy Advance and their previous lines,
Mhm.
I honestly think that there's more value in those games and like would be more of a um
Draw.
yeah, I do think that because I just feel like on a hard trying to think of the right way to phrase this as a hardship to go back and play those old like Game Boy Advance or Game Boy
Mhm.
games. It's I would think it a little bit more challenging to do. I know there's ROMs and emulators, but as far as like just to get them on your Switch,
Yeah,
the ease of access for those, I feel like would be a much greater draw than some of these old, because people still have PlayStation 3s or PS4s. I just feel like you know how many people still have a Game Boy Advance that they sit around and use.
yep. That's all good points. That's valid. I agree with that.
So I would love to see Nintendo, have more of a system even like this. I mean, I would be more willing to pay $120 to on my Switch a year for all, a whole catalog of Super Nintendo, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy
Yeah,
Color. I would shell out for that. Yeah, no questions asked.
absolutely. Yeah, like I said, if I had access to all that, there are so many games from those older systems that I either never got to experience or got to play. And then to be able to do it all portably, which you can't do on the PlayStation or the Xbox, that's for me the
Right.
biggest thing that I would love.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
And now, actually, before I move on to asking you that question, I just want to read a quick blurb from Sony's blog
go
that they
for it.
posted earlier this week that just gives a little bit more detail on their initial thoughts and feelings from this. So this was from Sony's official blog from their website. So they said the new extra and premium tiers represent a major evolution for PlayStation Plus. With these tiers, our key focus is to ensure that the hundreds of games we offer will include the best quality content that sets us apart. At launch, we plan to include titles such as Death Stranding, God of War, Marvel Spider-Man, Marvel Spider-Man's Miles Morales, Mortal Kombat 11, and Returnal. We're working closely with our imaginative developers from PlayStation Studios and third parties partners to include some of the biggest game experiences available with a library that will be regularly refreshed. More details to come on the games we'll have on our new PlayStation Plus service. So that's not you can go to the PlayStation blog to read the remainder of that. I just want to at least read the first paragraph to give you an idea of what they are planning to do and also the games that are going to be coming out that that they're planning on launching with this service. And I apologize not having this right up in front of me, but I believe that they're going to be implementing this fairly soon, like within the next couple of months.
Okay. That
So
was gonna be my next question is when this all started.
yeah, so this will be being implemented here pretty soon.
Cool.
And so this isn't actual industry. Oh yes, I'm sorry. It launches in June.
Doing okay. Cool. Right
Um,
around the corner. Two
this is
months
news
to go.
that not too long at all. So
Hmm.
like I said, when they do a release of the actual games that will be coming on, we'll go over that and now I'll tell you if I made up my mind. That will really be the what
It's a
games come on
That's
it.
gonna be the hook for the
Yep.
future episode. What
So I
can you
gave
play?
$120 to PlayStation.
uh,
So this isn't industry news, but this is news from T to me earlier this week. Taylor, you told me that you're going to be at some point getting into the new console generation. And what console are you going to buy, my friend?
Atari.
Atari.
Yep. Yep. Atari, baby. There we are. Gen 1, 2600.
Get it in.
No, I'm looking for I think I gotta go Xbox. We both have a Switch. Ken has the PS5. I think Xbox Series X is in my future, mostly because of our deep dive coming up later on in this episode of Mass Effect.
Which you can get on PlayStation as
I
well. I'm just saying.
know, but I played through it once already on Xbox. I want to carry on the tradition. Trust me, if it was on Switch, I said this a couple weeks ago. I am so in love with Mass Effect. It could possibly just cause me to buy an entire console just so I can play through that again with the Legendary Edition. And I got to pick up the Andromeda one because we never played through that as well. But
Yeah,
yep, news of the week. Eventually, I'll get an Xbox.
I love it. So we figured at least we both have a Switch. I'll have the PlayStation. Taylor can cover the Xbox stuff. And so I just thought that was really cool. I was all excited when he told me that earlier this week. So
And
are
then
you
that
gonna?
way, go ahead.
Are you gonna? When you eventually do get one, will you pay for the
Oh,
Xbox Game Pass?
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, so all the PlayStation fanboys can send all their hate mail to me, and all the Xbox fanboys can send all the hate mail to you. And just everybody loves Nintendo. So all we get is praise from those boys.
Yeah, we just want to give a shout out to the Sega people out there. You guys are so nice. Thank you so much.
oh my goodness. Yeah. There's a bunch of pages that I was, our group that we're a part of for the like different video game groups. And a few weeks back, I had posted a collage of our hidden gems that we came up with that we thought were so amazing. And so many people from the Sega group were like, "Oh, these are great games. I remember playing these. Very well done." And then there's a bunch from the Nintendo group where these guys are like, "These are your hidden gems? Oh my god, you clearly never play video games. This is the worst list ever." On and on and on. And I just remember calling Ken and being like, "These people on the internet are so mean." But really, it doesn't bother me. Keep it coming. Keep it coming.
Yeah, we can take it.
But
the Sega people, thank you so much. You are so nice.
Much. You're wonderful. You get two applause for today. Thank you. Clap, clap. Clap, clap.
So moving on to the next news. This
news.
This is sad. This hurt. This hurt. I knew it was coming, but this hurt. E3 for this year is officially canceled.
Did they cancel? Was last year's canceled, or is that still put on?
No, they still had it last year. I believe it was just all what?
So they had it on during the height of the pandemic, but now that the pandemic's winding down, is almost over, they're like, we'll cancel it this year.
Yeah, I mean, they said it's for COVID-19 concerns, but also maybe over like nuclear, like war concerns. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, is it taking place in the Ukraine? They're like,
no,
we're still good. We're gonna do it right over here next to the nuclear reactor that was bombed.
Oh my god. Yeah, no, not happening.
Okay.
Nope.
Yep.
But so they're pretty much the reasoning behind it is they just have said that in the recent years there's just been a decline in numbers, which has absolutely been the case. I believe it was last year that Sony pulled out. Sony didn't do Sony didn't do a press conference, and so from the declining in numbers, quote unquote COVID-19 concerns, they do plan on they won't be having it this year, and they do plan on bringing it back in 2023 with a what they say is or not, this isn't quoted, but hopefully like with a refresh to the event.
That's cool.
So yeah, so we'll see what that's about. But a big thing too is they're saying that Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo nowadays they don't need E3 anymore to do these big kind of showcases and releases. I mean, Nintendo throughout the entire year always has their Nintendo Directs that come out, usually quarterly or seasonally, and then various games get their own dedicated directs. So Nintendo does that. Sony has a few events that they do a year. They have the State of Play, their Sony State of Plays. They do like CES, Tokyo Games, not Tokyo Game Show, Tokyo Game Conference, Gamescon, or so. But Tokyo, yes, it was I've just said Tokyo like 16 times. Tokyo.
Ken's like, it takes place in Hong Kong. Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense. Kind of on a parallel road to that over the last couple of years, even before COVID hit, is like car shows. It used to be huge. There would be like big debuts at New York and LA, and Chicago used to have a huge one. They did a bunch over in Germany. Anyways, those have kind of wound down over the last couple of years, pretty much for the same reasons that car companies, cost a fortune to put these events on, but they
Right.
can, they can show the stuff online and make its own event whenever they want. So I mean, I guess it makes sense, but it's kind of
This
cool to
day
get
and
like
age,
hands-on gaming and these new stuff as well.
yeah, it's funny. E3 is something that, especially growing up, it was like the X Games, in the summertime. I remember like
Oh
it
yeah,
was always E3 and the X Games, in the summertime, like big events. Couldn't wait to watch them. Always wanted to go to an E3, but obviously, as I've gotten older now, I completely understand. So,
yeah.
I know it's been winding down. So it is a little bit of a bummer to see that it's actually canceled this year. I'm hoping that even though E3 itself is canceled, that Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo around the E3 time will still have their will just have their own press conferences scheduled to watch, just because it was always exciting to know that you're going to get some sort of big new content drops for these companies to see what's coming, for the next following years or following year in time frames. So hopefully we do get more stuff like that. So
Well, speaking of cancellations or delays, two other pieces of our news. I'm sure everybody knows at this point, but Breath of the Wild 2 being delayed until spring of 2023. I can't say really it's a shocker or a surprise. I think a lot of people saw this coming. They originally were going to have it out in quarter 4 of this year, but they're planning on making it more amazing and bigger and better than ever before. So just to make sure they kind of cross all their T's, dot all their I's, push back to spring of 2023.
now, does that bother you at all? Wait, is that something that you were really like held on to for 2022?
I mean, I figure it gets here when it gets here type of thing. Like I'm looking forward to the game. I love the first one. Absolutely amazing. But if I would rather have it pushed out a few months and have the game be as close to perfect as it can be, or to rather than rush it to market and have it be just a shit game. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
So
yeah.
I read a speculation on, obviously
Here
there's
we go. What's your speculation? Because I've read them all too, Ken.
this isn't mine. I'm just
Oh,
saying.
okay.
Someone on the internet,
Oh
someone on the
God.
internet, not mine.
Okay.
It really isn't mine. But they are saying that supposedly they think that they're pushing Breath of the Wild 2 back so it can launch with the Switch 2.
Yeah, I heard the same thing, but I wonder if it's going to be kind of similar. They've done this a lot with Zelda games, I feel like, where the second one for a console comes out for a current console, but then also splits with the debut of another one. Like Breath of the Wild did
Anyone?
that between Wii U and the Switch. You got it with Twilight Princess between GameCube and the Wii. And then you got that again with Skyward Sword at the end of the GameCube's lifetime. I mean, at the end of the Wii. So, I mean,
Was
I guess it's
was Breath of the Wild the last game for the Wii U?
probably not. It was a late. It was at like the end. Like you can play it on the Wii U.
I
Um,
forgot that I forgot that you could play Breath of the
yeah,
Wild on the Wii U.
but so they've kind of done this a lot with these secondary Zelda games. So I mean, I guess it's possible. Um, but there really hasn't. I feel like if that was the case, there'd be more information out there about the next Switch console. If because that's only not that far away. I guess
It
maybe
isn't. It'd be a
yeah
good time to talk about a new Switch console.
next week.
E3.
Oh, okay, yeah, that too.
It's canceled though.
Yeah, I know. So, only other small bit of news: HAL Laboratories, the creators of Kirby, also the guy who created Super Smash Brothers. So everything I've read has put this new Kirby 3D game has been absolutely amazing, excellent reviews. But they also have said that this isn't necessarily the standard going forward in Kirby. That Kirby could return to 3D or to 2D environments. They just want to be able to put out the best content possible. But I just thought it was interesting that it's done so well so far, but it may also not be the complete future of the game as well.
I mean, I could totally see them. I mean, literally going the Mario route.
Yeah.
Having their 2D Kirby games and then
Mhm.
having their open world, Kirby games. I
Yeah.
mean, clearly works for the
Yeah.
man with the red hat. So
Some is good, more is better.
Yep.
Well, I think that covers our news of the week. Ken, what kind of enjoyable games do we have coming out later on this week?
So April's not a very big month actually for
Mhm.
new games coming out, but there are couple on here that you should be interested in.
I'm
Starting with
Yep.
Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga
Oh,
comes
that's
out.
number one on my list.
Yeah, number one. That comes out April 5th for the PC, PlayStation 4 and 5, Xbox Series X and S, and One, and the Nintendo Switch.
So for everything.
Steam's, yeah, it's coming out for everything. Steam's description reads, play through all 9 Star Wars saga films in a brand new Lego video game unlike any other. Experience fun-filled adventures, whimsical humor, and the freedom to fully immerse yourself into the Lego Star Wars galaxy.
Have you played any of the Lego games?
Okay, so it's funny. I was going to ask you the same thing.
Beat you, sucker.
I actually have years ago.
Oh.
It was one of the Lego Star Wars games. So, do you know? Let me ask you this: do you know why they keep coming out with Lego games?
Because they're fun.
They're actually fun.
Yeah, I can imagine.
They're actually really fun. Yeah, I remember. Again, this was years ago. It's probably on like the PlayStation 2 or something. Playing one of the Lego Star Wars ones, and I was, I always clowned on it just because it's Lego, so whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, then I played it and I'm like, oh wow, yeah, like they actually like they got some quality in this. This is pretty fun.
I've never played any of the Lego games, but I can imagine like because it's a Lego, they can have like a lot of liberties with the game in terms of how fun it is and the gameplay and just like I said, their whimsical humor. So yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it is a funny like it's pretty good. They definitely
Very
do a
cool.
good job with them, and because I think they have like Lego Indiana Jones games
Oh,
and
they have like Legos of like everything. I feel like
yeah.
pretty much,
So
yeah, tons.
so if you're a fan of Star Wars
Or
and or
Legos.
Lego games, uh, you get to play through all 9 Star Wars saga films. This is actually
That's a lot.
it is. So this really might not be a bad pickup. But next we have MLB The Show 22 coming out April 5th for the Nintendo Switch.
Well, it's the show 2022, but they shorten it to 22.
Thank you
Go
for
on.
clarifying.
What
So
on earth is this game about?
it is about The Show 22.
Which show, you goober?
MLB
Oh,
The
okay.
Show.
I thought it was a
Yeah.
game about curling. Dude, how come there's no curling video games? How
That's
awesome
a
would
really
that
good
be?
question.
You just
Wii
go down the ice, you're
Sports.
just
Dude,
you're
they could
sweeping.
do it in Wii Sports.
Oh my god. You'd be exhausted. They're like, please do not play this game if you have any heart conditions. You just like running through the living room, just like sweeping everywhere. I'm out of breath just talking about it.
So
Yeah.
so this isn't curling, this is baseball.
Okay. Clarified that.
So this is really cool because this is going to have crossplay with the other systems and the other consoles. So Taylor, you said you're interested in this one?
Yeah, I'll probably get this at some point. Obviously, I'm a huge baseball fan, so I've played a number of baseball games, but I'll probably check this out at some point, I'm sure.
Don't wait too long, because if you wait too long, MLB The Show 23 will be out before you know
it. The year 2030. I'm like, I got the show 22. Yeah, let's go.
It's so good.
You're like, wait, why is nobody online playing this?
You're like, I'm the champion now.
That's
no
right,
one's gonna take my throne.
All right, what else we got coming out this week?
So coming up next, we got Chrono Cross, the Radical Dreamers Edition. Comes out April 7th for the PC, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Switch. Steam's description reads, Chrono Cross is an RPG that transcends time and space, unfolding across 2 interlinked parallel worlds. With over 40 party members to meet, people and dimensions will intertwine in this epic drama about the planet itself. I'm pumped for this.
I know you are. We've talked about this game a couple of times previously. Not a whole lot left to say about it. I guess we haven't already said, but yeah, party members, absolutely huge amount of people you can select for this. Like I said, I've played through probably 3/4 of this game before. So I will probably have to pick this up because I can't stand playing through a game and not having completed it. So
yeah, I've played maybe a good 45 minutes of this game back in the day. yeah. So it's bugging me that since I've been playing through Elden Ring, it's like I don't want to put that down, but I really want to pick this up. I really want to just play through this. The remaster looks, it's not like the Trials of Mana
Yeah, yeah,
remaster or remake, I should say, but this just sounds like such a great old school JRPG, especially from a franchise that we absolutely love and adore.
Mhm.
So I'm really looking forward to this. I hope it gets really well received. But the
Yeah.
final game that we have coming out this week is Forgive Me, Father, and it's the official launch of
Official.
this game. Yeah, official launch of this game comes out April 7th. This has been in early access for a while, but this is coming out just for the PC. Um, Steam's description for this game reads, Forgive Me Father is a dark retro horror first person shooter set in a comic book style world inspired by novels of H.P. Lovecraft. As the only one left with full senses, you begin a journey in search for answers and relief. How long can you last? Taylor, I have actually watched a video while doing research for this.
Yep.
This game artistically looks friggin' sweet. It
Does it?
is as it's like the Duke Nukem, like old school Duke Nukem Doom style,
Yeah.
um, first
Duke
person
Nukem.
shooter, but the art style is like um as it says, it's drawn like a comic book. Like
Okay.
the colors are, it just looks really cool. It's a really really interesting. So I recommend, if you're a fan of that old school kind of first person shooter style, I would check these guys out. This game looks really cool. Looks like a lot of fun.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, I guess that sums up. Yeah, it's only 4 big games coming out this week, but a couple of them look like they're gonna be pretty interesting for sure.
Yeah. Is Braden? I'll say I know Braden loves Legos, but is he into Star Wars?
Not really. No, I
No.
wouldn't say, but yeah, he does like Legos though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, yeah. So for me, definitely Chrono Cross at some point. We'll definitely
Yeah.
be picking that up to play through it.
Yeah, same here. And what do we have in this week in history?
This week in history, some cool games. Back in 1982, Taylor, that's 40 years ago,
Jeez.
a little known game called Pac-Man came out for the Atari 2600.
Pac-Man?
40 years ago.
What's that game about? I've never heard of this Pac-Man.
You're a guy who's going on a trip. You have a suitcase.
And you're eating little Pez.
Exactly.
All right. You ever actually seen gameplay of Pac-Man from Atari 26?
No, I don't think so.
It's atrocious.
Really?
Oh yeah. Actually, so harkening back to the gaming historian that I've been addicted to on YouTube, he actually did a thing about Pac-Man, and I didn't realize this, but yeah, the port to Atari was terrible. It looks nothing like the arcade version of it. The graphics are. It was like playing Pong, but with like Pac-Man. Like that's pretty much as advanced as it looked. It was terrible.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Didn't mean to
No,
rain on your
no,
parade from 40 years ago.
no. You're not raining on my parade at all.
If you're gonna
I'm
play
glad
this,
I'm glad I picked this game.
play the arcade version
Yeah,
over the Atari 2600.
that's
What else
cool.
we got?
You sprinkled a little bit of knowledge in there. That was good. I like
Yeah.
that. One of my favorite game series, actually, from 1997, we had the first Metal Slug game that came out on the
Ooh.
Sega Saturn 25 years ago. I love Metal Slug. I was introduced to this game actually at an arcade in not White River Junction, in Waterville Valley, this old pizza place that our next door neighbor worked at. So, Metal Slug is a really cool, really artistically,
Shooter, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Side scroller shooter. Really cool game. But I did not realize that came out for the Sega Saturn. But I believe it's a Neo Geo game is who made the Metal Slug
Yeah, I
series.
believe you're right.
So check out Metal Slug. Really cool stuff. But didn't realize it came out back in '97.
Don't tell me.
And I'm telling you right now to do it. And so the last game that we have is from 2007. Super Paper Mario for the Wii came out 15 years ago this week.
Whee!
So I didn't realize I actually had a Super Paper Mario.
Yeah, so they had I didn't realize this till I had gotten into playing Paper Mario a few months back on the Switch for their N64 game. So they had Paper Mario Thousand Year Door for GameCube, then Super Paper Mario's for the Wii, and I don't think there's one for the Wii U. And then the last one was Origami King that just came out for Switch.
Is Super Paper Mario like brand new storyline and everything, or is it like a remaster of the first
No, I think everything's like new. They just call it
Super Paper Mario?
Yeah.
Cool.
So
It's
sweet.
kind of interesting how they had like Thousand Year Door sounds like a really cool title for like a new game, and then they just go to Super Paper Mario. Like you think then they had Origami King, like it's so
They're like, we're making this. Well, I think it was probably during that same period when like new Super Mario Brothers were coming out and all that. So that's probably why I would assume that they're like, oh, we'll just slap this super title in front of Paper Mario. It'll be all good.
Super Mario World did a good job, so they had a good track record with Super.
All right, so moving on to our
deep dive
of the week. Okay, so it's a game we've talked about a little bit, but we've never really gone in depth with it, and it is definitely in my top 5 of favorite games of all time. Ken, where would you place Mass Effect on your list of just as a game in general?
Oh, as a game in general, yeah, probably. I mean, this is just off the top of my head. I'm sure we'll do a podcast. We'll do an episode based on top games of all time. But it's got to be up there, at least I'd imagine in top 5. I'm gonna be conservative here. Top 10. It's somewhere in the top 10.
Oof. I might even put it in my top 3. It's up there with Chrono Trigger. Yeah, it's up there with Chrono Trigger for sure. And yeah,
see, like, and when it comes to RPGs, but if we're just all games, just games in general, that I can't confidently with I can't. But as we know, for RPGs, it's up there. I can't remember what I had. I think I had it 3, 2.
Yeah, I think
I had it 3.
I think you had it 3. Yeah, I love it because there's so many. I love first-person shooter games, but I also love RPGs. So I think the fact that those were combined together with these elements is what like kind of.
Granted, this is a third-person shooter.
It is. I know, but it's a shooter game. Okay, man, it's a shooter.
Yeah, it's a shooter.
So, anyways, we're talking about the Mass Effect trilogy, and just to clarify, we're leaving Andromeda out of this deep dive, mostly because Ken and I haven't played it. I've heard great things. I've heard mixed things about it. But I will play it at some point when I eventually get my Xbox Series X. But yeah, we're just gonna focus on the trilogy. So the first one,
because obviously Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, for those of you who don't know out there who are listening, are they're a combined story. 1, 2, 3 together. Andromeda,
there's nothing. One interesting thing I will say that I think may have caused some issues with it is it was done with a completely different engine than 1, 2, and 3. So it was made using the Frostbite 3 engine instead of the Unreal 3 engine. So they pretty much had to start from scratch when they made Andromeda, which I don't really understand why. Like you understand wanting to separate it, but that's neither here nor there, I guess. So the original one, Mass Effect 1, released on November 20th, 2007, created the core creators of the game, Casey Hudson, Drew Karpyshyn, and Preston Watamanuk. I butchered those 2 names. I apologize in advance for post butchering. It was developed by BioWare, published by EA, not the EA Sports, just EA. But basically, they just started development back in 2004. It was shortly after the release of Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic. Ken, did you ever play through that game before? Or have you played through any of it?
No, I've played a little bit of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. There's 1 and 2, right? I know that there are diehard Knights of the Old Republic fans out there. People put those up as some of the best RPGs of all time. So definitely games that at some point I would like to play through.
I've never played it, but I've seen gameplay of it, and you can definitely see like where the similarities are between that and Mass Effect for sure.
Absolutely.
There's 130 people that were involved with the development of it, and at the time, it was the largest ever by BioWare when making a game. Uh, it's one of the things I love about this game is the customization. So when you first start out, there are 6 different kind of classes you could select as Commander Shepard. They had adepts who were basically specialized in biotics. You had a soldier who specialized in combat, engineers who specialize in techs, and then you also had 3 classes that would combine 2 of those 3. So you had a Vanguard, which would combine biotic and combat, Sentinel, which would combine tech and biotic, and then an Infiltrator, which would combine tech with combat. Uh, it's been so long since I played through this. I don't remember which I picked, but I'm sure it was probably one of the combos.
It was. You chose Vanguard.
Yep, that's what I said. Wait, how do you remember that?
I don't know, to be honest with you, but
Okay.
I remember that you chose Vanguard in the first one, and then in the second game, you reclassed yourself as just a like soldier.
Oh, okay. I'll believe you. So moving on from that, obviously I won't go into details about all of the different combinations you can have there, but primarily the game combat is done as a third-person shooter. One thing that I felt, and I'll get into it when we get into the second one, is the first one I didn't really take advantage a whole lot of like your team members and like where you could place them, but you could position them to like take cover in certain areas, or you could have them focus on a certain enemy, or you could just allow the AI, which is what I did, to kind of direct where they were going to go.
Yeah, the system wasn't as good in the first one. I
Yeah,
didn't think to as far as to like direct them.
yeah, the second time I played through the game, I definitely took more advantage of being able to use like the biotics and the like powers you had in the game versus the first time I pretty much just played it through as like a third person shooter. I didn't really use, I felt like, a lot of the abilities, but they made it way more user friendly by the time I got to the second game. It was much
Yeah,
more
yeah.
intuitive, and you really had to use, I felt like, a lot of the abilities to succeed in the second game. One thing that was I feel like was fairly revolutionary with this game was their introduction of the dialogue wheel, where basically you'd start talking to somebody, you'd have options typically in 4 different corners of the wheel. Most oftentimes, the options on your left side would drive you like further into the conversation, whereas the right side would kind of complete your dialogue. And then they also introduce kind of your paragon and your renegade status, where typically options on the top tended to be good slash paragon, or options on the bottom tend to be more bad, rebellious, renegade in style. And a lot of the stuff you would do would have effects later on in the game, but it would also have dire consequences on what happened in Mass Effect 2 and 3.
Boom,
So,
boom,
bum, bum,
boom.
bum. The other thing I thought was really amazing about this game is just how much detail they put into like the character development, and especially different species, like the races that you had within the game. They were all like had like a lot of development into them. Like you could tell they were not just like reskinned or something like that. Like these are like deep backstories in these different characters and the races they had out there. Just to name a few, we had the Asari, the Drell, humans, Solarians, Turians, Krogan, Quarians, and there was probably like another half a dozen other kind of races out there that you all could interact with. Ken, do you have a favorite of these that you interacted with when you were playing the game?
Um, yeah, I really liked the Krogans, I think. Some of my favorite characters were Rex
Yeah,
and I'm trying to think R- Grunt, I think, right?
yeah.
Grunt
Grunt was the
was
second one, I believe.
yeah. But I just great, great that obviously BioWare did a great job of just and the actors who voiced these characters
Mm.
and people who wrote for these characters, they just did a wonderful job bringing these races to life and actually make them feel like, you know, authentic alien races, with their own sort of
Yeah,
dynamics
and since you bring up the dialogue and what was written for this is one thing I found was really amazing, just how much detail they put into this. So the first game had 20,000 lines of dialogue in it. The second one had 25,000 lines of dialogue. In the third game had 40,000 lines of dialogue in it. Absolutely
unreal.
unbelievable. Just the attention to detail I put in it. Yeah, Krogans were pretty cool. As like a species, a race, they were probably my favorite. But my favorite actual character had to be Garrus, who's the Turian. He was a pretty badass in that game. I liked him a lot.
Yeah. Now I gotta ask. Uh, speaking just a little back on the Paragon Renegade system.
Yeah.
What did you mainly do? Did you just go with like how, did you play it? See, like me, I try to play it as like okay, like I'm not just I'm not unique. I'm sure many people do this, but when you play RPGs, like I just imagine I try to immerse myself as much as I can into the story. And like okay, like if I'm picking an option to say something, like what would I do? What would I say in this situation? And every time it was essentially Paragon. But what about you? How did you play it?
Yeah, most of the time it reflected my personality, which I would say is Paragon. There were often times where like I would save the game before having like a dialogue with somebody, and I would go through and to like pick the renegade just to see what would happen, and didn't always go well. And then I'd be like, all right, we're gonna reload this and go back through this dialogue wheel and go back to Paragon. And I think I mentioned this before, but at one point I read the creators of the game who worked on this. They were able to actually track like the percentage of people who had done Paragon versus Renegade. And it was something like 78%, I think they said, of people selected Paragon. And now remember, they had 20,000 lines of dialogue in this first game. Can you imagine if you spent all this time and you're like writing out all these scenarios for Renegade and almost nobody picks it? You're like, what the hell, buddy? I spent hours and hours and hours of my life picking these things and almost somebody picked Renegade. So
Now, I will say that the fact that they have that though
yeah,
really gives great replay value. Is to if
true.
you want to just choose, okay, I'm going to play through this game twice, and honestly, the combat and everything. I mean, it's that good that I mean,
Mm.
especially with all the different classes. I mean, you could play through this game and it feel much different the different times. 2 times you play through it, and just say, okay, this time I'm going the Paragon route, and then the second playthrough I'll go the Renegade route. If I were to do it again, I probably would just do Renegade just
For
to
everything.
yeah, just to play through that route because I didn't my first time through.
They'd be like, how big of a dick is he going to be in this play through? Remember the reporter you could punch in the face? Oh, Shepard, we just won't stand for that in 2022.
Unless you're well, no, I won't.
Oh,
Yeah.
almost went there. Moving on. Well, remember this. So this game takes place. Maybe they allow it in the year this takes place, but
Maybe.
takes place in 2183, just a little bit in the future. But basically, it's a story of Commander Shepard who is trying to save the galaxy from an ancient race of machines known as the Reapers. The Reapers.
The Reapers.
And so basically, you're tasked with assembling a team to stop. The first one start off. You're assembling a team to stop a rogue agent, Saren Arterius, from helping the Reapers. He's been indoctrinated. Basically, you're going to travel the galaxy. They're done through these things called mass relays, which is built by an extinct alien race known as the Protheans. And then law and order throughout this intergalactic conflicts is done through what's called the governing body of the Citadel Council. Basically, they're made up of humans who joined it in 2157, as well as the Asari, the Solarians, and the Turians. And then Shepard, he becomes the first human Spectre, which is basically a special agent for the Citadel Council. And they basically have like broad, quote unquote, broad authority throughout the galaxy. And you become the Spectre after Saren, who is a former Spectre, is found to be betraying the Citadel Council after, again, being indoctrinated by the Reapers.
Not gonna lie, just you reading through like that first, like the little synopsis
Oh,
of
right.
the beginning of the first game, I'm just like, yeah, I need to play this now.
Dude,
I need to.
I said I was doing the research on this, and then like partway through, I text you, and I'm like, I need to buy an Xbox Series X so I can play this damn game again. They had the whole remaster with the trilogy. I definitely want to pick that up. I remember playing through this game and just being so excited at every moment I was playing through this because it was just so revolutionary. I felt like at the time, and yeah, such a great game.
So I know you're gonna. I'm obviously I'm gonna let you touch on this more when we get into number two. But since we're on number one still,
Mhm.
for those of you who don't know, who maybe have played through this game back when it first came out and know how big of a leap 1 to 2 took as far as the gameplay goes, in the legendary edition that just came out within the last year and a half or so, they went back and they kind of did like a little revamp to Mass Effect 1 to bring it they kind of brought the camera down to be more right behind you, like it like 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And so the gameplay now in 1 feels much closer to 2 and 3, whereas like the original just Mass Effect 1 to 2, huge jump,
Yeah.
big difference. But yeah, I guess they reworked it for the Legendary Edition. So that's, to me, that's another huge like, wow, I want to go back and replay through 1 with the new kind of rework to it.
Well, if you think about how big, like like obviously it was intended to be a trilogy from the get go. So when you think about how much work had to go into creating the world and the environment, everything for number one, kind of once you have that down, when you go into number two, then you could focus on gameplay and graphics and like key things that are part of the game that you you didn't have to work out in the first one necessarily. So it
Yeah.
makes sense. I mean, there was definitely graphic wise, there was a big leap forward between number one and number two for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, basically, like I said, you're trekking across the galaxy trying to stop Saren, which he does. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a Mass Effect 2. Then, like, yeah, you get to the end and he kills Shepard. You're like, this was a great game. All right, I'm all set with the trilogy. Uh, so jumping ahead a little bit, you get into Mass Effect 2, as we just said. Uh, there's quite a big leap in terms of graphic capability of the game, and it really allowed them to kind of focus more on the story as well as, like I said, updating the graphics. They made the gameplay much, much more intuitive. This one released a few years after the original. This came out on January 26, 2010, and it just takes place, shortly after the events of Mass Effect 1. But again, one of the cool things having this as a trilogy from the get-go is you could import your character as well as decisions that were made in Mass Effect 1 into Mass Effect 2. The other thing I thought was important is there was so much fan feedback from the first one that when the designers were making Mass Effect 2, they had a couple of goals that they based on reviews as well as fan feedback from the first game. They wanted the side missions just to feel as important as the main storyline. And then they also put a little bit more focus on the third person shooter perspective instead of the RPG elements, which then actually became a criticism of the second one. And they kind of went back a little bit more on the RPG side when the third one came out. Like I said, mostly just improved graphics as well as the combat abilities when compared to Mass Effect 1. And you can see that right in the beginning as soon as you start playing the second one. Would you agree, Ken?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, it's been a while since I played through these games, so I don't necessarily remember the RPG systems being more lacking necessarily in 2. Certainly the overhaul to the combat and just the way that the game is controlled. I definitely recognize that, and especially on the way that they did their the side missions. I thought that Mass Effect 2 and 3 tackled their side missions wonderfully.
Yeah.
For instance, like I wish Destiny would actually implement, not so in Destiny's latest expansion, they did a really good job with their campaign and their storytelling on that front. But in Mass Effect 2 and 3, when you'd go into a side mission, you'd go like into a world and it was like their own hand designed created level that you went through for that side mission. So it felt unique. It felt just tailored to that mission when made it really, as I said, um, Taylor. Yeah, got it.
And it took me a second to get that. That's okay.
It just made it feel really good. Whereas a game like Destiny, they have, and each planet that you go to is just an open world like environment, and the missions in the game just take place within that environment. So whether you're just going there on patrol or you're doing a mission there, you're always on that same environment. Whereas in this, you do a side mission on its own, just specially made mission for that. So I just thought they did an excellent job. I remember thinking that distinctly. Wow, yeah, they did a great job on all these side missions.
Yeah, I know that was certainly one of the criticisms of the first game. You land on a planet, you take the Mako, your little dune buggy that you're cruising around in, and there was like a lot to explore, but most of it was just kind of barren,
Yeah, it was
pointless.
empty.
Yeah, it was empty. There's like you just got to kind of this small spot, and that's where you like kind of jump into this bunker. Me personally, I didn't really mind it. I wouldn't say it really added to the game, but I wouldn't for me personally, I didn't mind. I liked being able to explore and see where I could get to and try to crash my Mako into different into different things.
And if I
But yeah,
remember correctly, you travel with a Mako to also like mine and get resources, right? On the
yes,
planet.
yeah. Whereas by the time the third one rolled around, you could do your like mining and resourcing like all directly from from the Normandy ship, which
Right.
was good. I like that quite a bit as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, so basically the second game, your main mission is you're stopping the collectors, who are an insectoid species that are being used by the Reapers, basically. And the whole thing culminates in this giant suicide mission where the entire squad goes to the collector base. But it starts with attack on the Normandy ship. Shepard is killed. Again, this is taking place just a few months after the first one. Shepard's killed.
Spoiler alert.
I know, right? But then, well, the game only came out 12 years ago. Um, Shepard's killed. His body is recovered by Cerberus, who is a human-led terrorist group who believes that humans deserve a greater role in the system's alliance, and they are led by the dun 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 elusive man.
Charlie Sheen. I mean, Martin Sheen.
you're close. I remember when the second game came out, and like I watched the trailer for it. I'm like, dude, that guy looks and sounds just like Martin Sheen. And then I saw it, and I'm like, holy crap, they got Martin Sheen to actually be in the video game.
Oh my God, that is Martin Sheen.
I'm like, that's a pretty big name for a video game. I was amazed. I mean,
Yeah.
still, Ken, who's? I'm assuming you're probably on the same page as me. Who's your favorite person that was in any of the Mass Effect games for an actual like authentic actor?
For an actual authentic actor
Yeah.
in the Mass Effect games?
Mm-hmm. Oh, come on. I figured this would be easy for you.
All
right. How about I tell you mine?
Yeah, okay.
Joker, Seth Green.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I forgot about him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But they didn't, so they used his voice. They didn't use his likeness.
Yes, because Seth Green isn't paralyzed.
Well, but what I mean,
I know.
but whereas the character in the Elusive Man, they actually didn't they actually make him look like Martin?
Yeah,
I mean,
he does look a lot like Martin Sheen.
Yeah, they used exactly.
Anyways, so Cerberus takes him, and they basically revive him after 2 years of study. Which I wonder how his body held up. He wakes up and he's like, "Oi, are my joints tired? I've been dead for 2 years." Sounds like the Tin Man. He's like everywhere.
They just got him a little bit of oil.
Just got him a little bit of oil.
And space rock.
Basically, then Cerberus takes Shepard. They send him to investigate the colonies, which are being human colonies that are being abducted by collectors. And he also goes to assemble his new crew. And spoiler alert, you find out that the collectors are actually former Protheans who were enslaved by the Reapers.
Wow.
Wah, wah, wah. And then, as I alluded to, it basically ends with a giant suicide mission to the collector's base. And now, so whoever survives, like your goal is to have all the squad members on your team make it through. Depending on how loyal they are to you, what kind of tasks you've assigned them to, and the upgrades you're made to your Normandy ship, all determines who and how many people make it through the suicide mission, which also makes it a little difficult to plan for. I think the first time I played through this, I lost like 1 or 2 people, and I was very upset about that, which is part of why I want to go back through and play this game all over again so I can correct my mistakes from the past.
And save your crew.
That's right. Which then leads us to Mass Effect 3, which, a little side note, the Mass Effect Andromeda initially starts off taking place between Mass Effect 2 and 3, where they're sending a ton of people, thousands and thousands of each race, on these sleeper ships to the Andromeda Galaxy to basically colonize another portion of the galaxy
and escape the Reaper threat.
Yeah, something like that.
Because essentially the Reapers come in every
50,000 years.
Yep, to restart civilization.
Yeah, they're like, you monkeys have learned too much. Now we must wipe you out again and start fresh, or something like that.
That's what they say.
So that moves us on to Mass Effect 3, released on March 6, 2012. Takes place in the year 2186, so that's 3 years after the original Mass Effect and 6 months after the ending of Mass Effect 2. Now, basically, the third one, this is going to focus on the Reaper invasion and basically, saving the galaxy. Travel is done mostly on the Normandy SR2, which is their newest and upgraded ship that they got in the second one. And again, one of the things we alluded to, instead of going to actual planets where you can do mining, you're doing a lot of that from the ship. It just kind of takes a lot of tedious work that was done in the first game, the second game, out of the equation. Again, a lot of people found this much, much more enjoyable. And then also, one thing that was kind of cool, there are these Atlas mechs that if you kill the driver without damaging the mech, you can take control of those mechs, which was something cool that they added on. And multiplayer was introduced. You can play as different species, and each of them will have their own unique abilities. But again, some of the big decisions, I remember this in Mass Effect 3, involved the Krogans. So the Krogans were facing extinction by genophage. It was a genetic mutation that was engineered by the Solarians to make the Krogans sterile. And then also the Quarians were attempting to retake their home world from the Geth. Shepard can either help cure the Krogans and gain the support of the Solarians by helping them and lie to the Krogans. And then also Shepard must decide, or must help negotiate peace between the Quarians and the Geth, or he can choose one side over the other. So all these things that you did had a kind of an effect on the ending of the game and like what your options were in defeating the Reapers.
One might say that it actually has a mass effect on the game.
Who would say that?
I did.
Okay. Job well done. So yeah, when this one starts off, you're again Commander Shepard. You find himself court-martialed on Earth. See, this part I find a little interesting. So you're court-martialed on Earth by the Systems Alliance because you're working with Cerberus. But then all of a sudden the Reapers attack and everything goes to hell. And they're like, hey, you're reinstated. Go save the day, please. We don't want you stuck here in a cell. So you're shipped off to Mars, and you're basically on Mars. You learn about the Protheans, and they have this super weapon called the Crucible that can destroy the Reapers. And you find the schematics for it on Mars, and then you set out to find support from all the different species across the galaxy. And then this then culminates with Shepard finding the catalyst, which, spoiler alert, turns out to be this childlike AI. And it allows you to choose between several options with dealing with the Reapers. And then the ultimate fate depends on things such as your effective military strength and the decisions you made earlier in the game. This, of course, led to much criticism with the ending, and there was actually lawsuits filed with the Better Business Bureau. People felt they were deceived by the ending of this game, and there was a free DLC that was eventually released called the Expansion Extended Cut, and it basically just added cutscenes, giving more explanation to the ending, and this, of course, had mixed reviews as well.
Yeah, so essentially people were upset because no matter what decisions you made, at the end of the game, it just boiled down to one of three decisions.
Yeah, exactly.
That is what it all boiled down to. Now there is a fan theory out there called the indoctrination theory, which I think is, you can't see my camera, but I can see my camera. My door just mysteriously opened behind me, so that was creepy. But it was a ghost. But yeah, so it just comes down to three decisions, and so that's why people were upset.
I know.
The indoctrination theory kind of helps justify it a little bit, but were you
on that indoctrination theory?
So if I remember correctly, the indoctrination theory pretty much just says that since you have been around Reaper, Reaper tech since the first game, that you yourself have been becoming indoctrinated slowly over time. And so if I remember, because you have a Paragon option, a Renegade option, and a neutral option. And I believe that the Renegade option is to destroy all of the tech, so that would also destroy that would destroy all the Reapers and get rid of technology. And then the Paragon option, I think, but essentially if you look at it, people look at Renegade as bad, but if you get rid of the technology, that's really a good thing. So you're indoctrinated to think that the good thing is to keep the technology, but when really the good thing would be to get rid of the But it was something to
Wow.
that. It's something to that effect, and that Mass Effect, no, but it was something to that. I'd highly recommend watching a YouTube video on the indoctrination theory. It makes a lot of sense. I'm pretty sure BioWare has come out and said like, yeah, that wasn't our plan at all. But if you think of it that way, it makes the ending make a lot more sense.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because there were, when I was doing my research on it, there were actually a couple different endings that was kicked around by BioWare before they settled on this one. And one of them was actually where Caden or Ashley, who were two other humans that were on your squad in the beginning of the game, one of them would become the second human Spectre, and they confront Shepard, who has been turned by Reapers, similar to what happened to Saren. And they also had an idea of the elusive man having been the final boss, and that he would transform into a Reaper creature like Saren did, but BioWare felt that was kind of too cliche. So they passed on that one. And they also discussed having the Reapers stopping organics from using dark energy, which would prevent them from destroying the universe. And then lastly, they kicked around the idea of Shepard finding a trapped Reaper queen inside the Citadel. And then basically, when you find her, you'd be given the similar options to what you got from the Catalyst. But ultimately, they settled on the Catalyst being that childlike AI, which everybody hated apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
What did you think when you beat the game?
I it was a while ago, so I honestly don't remember how I felt. I think before I got a chance to beat it, I had read there were so many people who had like negative reactions to it. I wish I hadn't have read that ahead of time because I think it kind of persuaded me to be like, oh, well, if everyone else hates this, I probably hate this too. I don't know. I mean, you save the day, you save the day type of thing, I guess. I think what a lot of people are mad about is you put all of this emotional build up and like attachment to these characters, and like you said, then at the end of the day, you're like, oh well, none of this stuff that I like had this emotional attachment to has any sort of payoff. Um, yeah, I mean, I get it,
Yeah.
but maybe I'll feel differently when I play through the trilogy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The gameplay and everything leading up to it itself,
Yeah.
it's still I would play through this game again in a heartbeat.
Yeah. So, yeah, we touched on pretty much everything before that. Like I said, the developers really focused on improving the gameplay and the storyline, the storytelling with Mass Effect 3. They brought back a little bit more RPG elements compared to the second one, and just made it a lot more user friendly for new players. Which like I said, even somebody who played through the first and second, I agree they got more and more user friendly being able to play through these. And they also tweaked a little bit of the AI. They made like when you were in a combat situation, they made like more surprises pop up. That was just more, made it less predictable for people who had been playing through, which I thought was pretty clever as well. So that's kind of our rundown on Mass Effect. If anybody has not played this, I highly recommend it. It is an absolutely stellar series of games.
And for the RPG aspects that are out there with it, you could get new armors, new armor sets. You could customize your appearance a little bit.
Your weapons you could upgrade.
So I do actually in number 2. I guess I do see what they mean with as far as lack of RPG elements, whereas you could customize lightly how your armor looks. And there were definitely different weapons, but the upgrades on the weapons I don't think were quite as unique like they were on number 1 and number 3.
And I think number 1 too is like you as you leveled up, you would gain abilities that you could like add on to different parts of you, and I think that part was kind of taken out in the second game if I remember correctly.
It was reduced significantly.
Like,
you still had abilities, right?
They could do with it,
right.
So
But yeah, definitely still great games, great action, action games, third person shooters, great storyline. So I'm sure a lot of you have played through the games and know of the games. But yeah, still definitely worth checking out.
And for those of you who haven't, I'm sorry that has ruined the entire series for you.
Yeah.
But you should still play through it. It's amazing.
Yes.
So that covers our deep dive of episode 10. I felt like for a 10th episode, we had to focus on an amazing game, one that we both concur is in our top 10 apparently in Mass Effect.
Absolutely, we're really happy to touch on this one. This was good, and I can't wait to go back and play through it.
Absolutely.
So Pepperoni, Yeah, I've been saving that one.
Should
Episode
have
10
kept,
in the
should have kept
books.
saving it.
No, it's a good one. It's
Okay,
a
that was
good
a
one.
good
It's
one.
brand new.
Pepperoni. Let's see. Hambroski.
Okay, yeah, I'll take it. Sort of a meat sort of night. But yeah, so there we go. Episode 10. We'll be back next week with episode 11.
Okay.
We
11 typically follows 10.
we may even record that one since I'm coming up to visit you.
That's right.
We can record the next one in person. So again, huge shout out to everyone who listens. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you.
Hopefully we'll be getting some more exposure here soon, especially with the when we create the YouTube account, which
Yep.
is coming. Stay
Is
tuned.
coming.
That is
Stay
coming.
tuned.
But
Be on
until
this.
then, you can check us out on all our social medias. So check us out on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter.
Yep, we have a Facebook page now, an actual like dedicated page to the Weird Brothers podcast. And yeah, YouTube will be coming soon. We are working on it. We want to make it as good as possible before we unveil what is the amazing Weird Brothers podcast.
YouTube.
Weird Brothers.
And you can always, as well, through the millions of emails that we get every single week, you can keep emailing us
Absolutely.
at the Weird Brothers Podcast at gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. So hit us
Excellent. Ken, another one in the books. Shout out as well to Aaron Slocum, our guy, the musician, putting together our music track for this. Yeah, thank you as always. And thank you everyone for listening. We'll be back next week. Same bro channel,
up. Same bro time. We're brothers.
We're brothers.